Now on to 204 in the Indicator range, which is the first of two Jess Franco Fu Manchu movies, The Blood of Fu Manchu, which really surprisingly leads this film down a twist of almost genres. We have moved from the almost Hammer type of setup with familiar actors and locations and moved into an almost Euro, possibly grindhousey feeling movie, and it really feels quite odd and uneven as you start to watch this movie. Things have twisted rather unevenly throughout this series. The first three movies are their own particular thing, and now these have moved into something wildly different and something that doesn't really fit within this genre or subgenre of movies so far. We get the usual kind of shenanigans. Christopher Lee as Fu Manchu. He's now in South America. He has brought up this idea that the Incas had where they can possess women so that when they kiss somebody they will poison them and kill them, and he has set up these 10 women with these powers and sent them out into the world to kill off leaders of countries or prominent men within the world, one of them being Nayland Smith, who we have a new Nayland Smith this time around. Richard Green this time kind of starts off his tenure as Nayland Smith with a little bit of gusto and almost immediately is robbed of any real effect whatsoever. He is attacked by one of these women, and when I say attacked I mean kissed passionately, and he immediately loses his sight and becomes a kind of bumbling imbecile almost, because he is unable to really do much after that. It's up to Howard Marion Crawford, who's back once more as Dr. Petrie, and he is another long-standing cast member. He's never changed, and he kind of takes over, but again he becomes rather buffoonish and idiotic as well, where he's only interested in one thing, which seems to be tea, and it's not funny or clever. Now Jess Franco really does take this down a little bit of a sleazy route. We get lots of nakedness here, we get lots of skin on show, and it feels really unfitting with this movie. It's something that doesn't really fit in with the whole feeling of a Fu Manchu, but that's where it kind of eases down this Euro-sleaze route. We are given short shrift on a lot of our characters. Fu Manchu takes a back seat, Nayland Smith takes a back seat. We have Sai Chen is Fu Manchu's daughter, who takes a bigger role this time about. She at one point is even sitting in Fu Manchu's throne. She takes charge, offering out commands, and pretty much being the dominant antagonist force within this story. Like I said, Nayland Smith is sidetracked. We get a couple of other main characters to kind of lean on as new heroes. We get a bad guy, a kind of local criminal, Sancho Lopez, who is this kind of overweight, sweaty guy who we get extreme close-ups of his face. It's filmed a lot within Barcelona, so you get not a lot of shots on set, but rather out in the open, and a lot of crash zooms and just typical Euro cinematic style, and it really doesn't fit within these movies. Not to say that this one isn't somewhat enjoyable. It still has its moments, it still has some fun sequences. It's just starting to feel a little bit as if it's moving away from what makes Fu Manchu Fu Manchu. It feels as if it's moving a little bit towards that kind of ickiness that some European movies have, and it feels as if it's taking something rather fun, rather carefree, and just making it a little bit grimier. Unfortunately, Christopher Lee's not in the movie much, and when he is there, he seems to be kind of underwhelmed and not really as engaged as he has been. We get a kind of wrap up on the Nayland Smith story, which feels really perfunctory. They'd almost be as good as getting rid of that character. I did like the fact that we get some nice, interesting production values by having this shot on locations that are quite curious to kind of see being portrayed in these movies. But a lot of the characters are kind of grimy and uninteresting. A lot of skin on show is needless and kind of takes away the fun, carefree factor of Fu Manchu, leading it into something where I don't really think that it fits properly. But still, The Blood of Fu Manchu was a movie that was okay, but we feel as if we're on a slippery slope now. We've went through 3 fairly entertaining movies and we have hit a borderline movie. The Blood of Fu Manchu was fun. It had some interesting ideas. It had some nice way of tackling its story, but it had a lot of down points, a lot of unnecessary nakedness just for the sake of having it. We have a lot of loss within our main characters. We have some new characters who aren't that overly interesting, and we have a plot that was, well, kind of average for these kind of movies. The Blood of Fu Manchu, still a pass, only just. Next up, we're going to move on to the Castle of Fu Manchu, and we'll see what that one has in hold for us. After this and the warnings that I've had, I'm feeling a little bit worried. I'd love to know your thoughts on this movie. Let me know in the comment box below, and I'll see you next time on Man v Film.